Hi, long-time listener, first-time caller. I'd like both of you to answer this if you can. So one of the interesting things about Transformers to me is that the stock of characters is essentially given to you largely, whether it's the bios or with the years of lore. And I'm wondering, is there a time that you really took a lot of inspiration from that matter? Or conversely, if there was a time where you looked at that and went, nah, I'm going in this direction?
I can almost bet that you actually have a more interesting answer to this than me, because it wasn't lore when I was working on it. My quick answer is, I was like, okay, what character do you want me to do this episode? Because that then gives me a starting point. So do an episode about Trax. Okay, he's a really cool looking car. What if some street kid stole him? You know, that was how that started. So having all those characters was really helpful to us, because, like on Turtles, it was the same thing. It was like they would make toys of the villains, and they had, you know, all these, you know, okay, do this toy. Okay, well, that's this week's episode is we'll have this guy in it. So it was really helpful, but we didn't know we were like laying the foundations of some myth. But you actually coming in like way long after I had departed. You actually had all that stuff to work with.
Across multiple continuities and iterations of the franchise, and what we're now nearly 35 years in or whatever. I think what was key was, again, in the comics, you don't try and bring everything together. You know, it was essentially it's a G1 story, but you can cherry pick the good stuff. And I was asked a question yesterday about what elements of past continuities that I and Nick drew most heavily on, and it was things like actually the Orion Pax and all that entails. That's a central pillar, cutting across most continuities now. I can't think of many where
could have knocked me over with a feather.
Yeah. And sparks from Beast Wars and things, and the religion that Simon Furman brought into it, and it's not necessarily reproducing those or aping those. It can be finding a new angle on it, or thinking logically. Okay, well, now that's been established. Where does that take you? And in More Than Meets the Eye, there were some things which 30 years in hadn't ever really been explained. And you've got to be careful that you're not just. It's not just sort of that. And I don't mean to denigrate any of us, myself included, but it's not that sort of fan service thing. And you spend 30 pages explaining. Something which only 2% of anybody cares about, you know. But in IDW, we were 5 or 6 years into that particular continuity, and no one had actually established why or how the Autobots and Decepticons had started fighting. You know, no one had explored Optimus Prime and Megatron in that continuity, and what brought them into conflict. So that was a huge gap to be filled in. And stuff like Conjux and Jura and sort of the romantic side of it. Things like, well, how come some Transformers are just fundamentally more powerful than others, you know, and the birthing process and the creation process.
And bigger and smaller.
Well, exactly, yeah. And why have some got one eye and others haven't?
Our brief was always never ask why an alien mechanical species from a distant galaxy, why one member of that species looks like a Corvette. And another looks like a Peterbilt tractor. And I don't know if the movies got this from some later series or comics or whatnot, but actually the way the movies came up with for explaining it, which is it's almost like the TARDIS. It's like a chameleon circuit, you know. Yeah. I thought was actually pretty good. You know, so that makes some sense.
Yeah, the simple explanations are usually the best ones.
Yep.
Thank you very much.